Welcome to the Sedona Soul Sisters show, down to earth discussions on spirituality, metaphysics, paranormal, and healing topics. The Sedona Soul Sisters are Terri-ann Russell, cell phone going crazy with alarms, Melissa Brace, myself, Ivory Lanou, and Roz Reynolds, who is out of town today. Today's topic is extrasensory perception, commonly known as ESP. So we were just talking about this recently. Roz and I were like, there's these things that we just kind of take for granted because it's so much a part of our lives, like who we are and what we do. We just kind of brush over these basic topics. And we were thinking that this might be one that is helpful for people because a lot of people have no idea, or they have movie ideas about what it's all about. Like I was joking earlier about, guess what today's show is. Or how about Ghostbusters, the first Ghostbusters movie where Bill Murray's doing tests at a university for students for ESP, and he has the cards with the waves and the star, and he's showing them to a guy and telling him he's wrong even when he's right, and giving him a shock, and then telling the pretty girl who gets him wrong, "You're amazing, you're fantastic, you're a natural." So people, they don't really understand what it is. And who would like to talk about that? Nobody.
I
Nobody
I
wants.
love ESP. It's always amazing to me how just a quick example is like my mom, like I'll call my mom and my brother will call her at the same time. Always. It's like an everyday, occurrence, and she's like, "Oh, your brother just called me, I'll call you back." But that's just a quick example, but I've had ESP all of my life. It's something going back, I can remember like precognitive stuff happening to me, and younger, I thought I was making those things happen. So but when you realize, like, I would, like, when Tim and I were dating, I would like send him these telepathic messages, text me, call me.
You
And he
love
would, and
me.
you love me. So you can play with it like that and learn how to expand and grow it.
So what is ESP? What does that mean?
Well, ESP, extrasensory perception, I feel like it's like your sixth sense, that just knowing beyond the physical, what we know in the physical. So just that sense of knowing.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Knowing information, however you get it, through your sixth sense, that you don't have any explanation of how you know that. I have that all the time, and I find it to be really difficult because I'll give you an example. Especially before I worked in this business full time, I was working in the mental health field, and I was supervising multiple step down units from the inpatient unit at a psychiatric hospital. And I had two male employees who I thought they were great at first, but I was in a very stressful time when I hired them. And shortly after, there started to be warning bells, psychic warning bells going off in my head, but there was nothing specific. And then I had a very strong ESP, just ESP. I knew that they were doing something they shouldn't have been with a female patient. And I tried to intervene. I tried to get help from my supervisor, from the executive director. And they're like, "Well, what proof do you have?" And I remember sitting there and going, "Oh my God, I have nothing. What am I doing? I have nothing. Where am I going with this?" And they couldn't do anything about it. And it just got so intolerable. I left because the warning, I was feeling it, hearing it, knowing it, and there was no evidence. And a few months after I left, there was a thing in the paper, a story in the paper, that those two had been molesting the female patient at that hospital. And I look back on it and I'm like, of course it was ESP. But at the time, I wasn't immersed in this world. I was in a very scientific setting. You didn't talk about things like this. You didn't admit you did things like this. And I didn't even realize that I was getting those powerful messages from a source within myself, not from what my eyes were seeing. So that definitely was ESP, and I wish there was something more that I could have done at that time.
Yeah, had you been open more at that time too, you might have said like, can you help me, ask your guides and your angels, help me to find some proof or something, or say your affirmations and your prayers to ask for that help and guidance.
Well, here's the really crazy thing. I found out later my supervisor was very into all of this. So had I realized what was going on, I could have said what was happening. I'm getting this psychically, and she would have looked into it. But there was nothing they could do. So that's an extreme example, but I think every day for me as a psychic, I'm getting these ESP all day long, all the time. It's like saying you have eyeballs. You're using your eyeballs all the time. You're using your vision all the time. If you have the ability for ESP, you're using it all the time, whether you realize it or not. I just realized I'm not talking into this microphone. Makes it kind of pointless to have it, doesn't it?
Forgot to clear.
Let's turn it on and put it on the sofa. What about you, Melissa? How does it come into play for you?
It's to me in a huge way, like a big indication about our world waking up, because it's almost like, over the years with the movies, like I see dead people, or, like the movies, as we have grown in awareness, I think everybody's kind of up a little bit in their consciousness and their pineal gland, maybe. It's almost like that this sixth sense, ESP, has, it's like part of us now. It's part of our divine right. Whereas, like you were saying, Ivory, like in the last years, we need to be quiet. But I too have always had that, and I actually solely, because I'm by myself so much, rely on the ESP of everything. And like Ivory was saying, sometimes it's not a pleasant experience. Like that's a red flag coming in. I need to pay attention, or I need to stay away from that. And I think that's kind of cool, because it's over the years, we kind of work on refining that and listening to it more and more. But I'm seeing it in people where they're going, hey, I think, don't think I'm crazy, but I think I knew that yesterday, or things like that. And there was a fun one last night. I have a teacher mentor that I've worked with for like a decade, and I had a energy clearing session, frequency clearing session with her last night. And what we always do, because she's in a different country and we have all these different time zones, right? We say, okay, we email each other and go, I'll see you in 2 hours, 2 hours and 14 minutes. And to get there, so because I'm notorious for not being on time or knowing what time zone I'm in. And yesterday we did it twice. We're just funny. We just laugh with each other. And we did it twice exactly at the same time. Like it was like, I will see you in 1 hour and 32 minutes. And we both sent the emails at the same time. And it was fun to sort of, in that bigger picture way, connect with that ESP with the others in your soul tribe, or your surroundings. And like Terri-ann said, when you were dating, you would kind of send messages to Tim and say, hey, text me, I love you, text me, call me, what do you think? And I'm liking that part, and the connections with others, because it's kind of heartwarming, that ESP part.
I think on a day-to-day basis, a very casual way that this happens is that I'll think of a client, and they'll just pop into my head. I could be doing anything. I could be building a website, and a client pops into my head, and they just keep coming in, and then boom, they show up on my schedule for the next day or the day after. Like or they'll text me and say, Ivory, I need your help. So sometimes it is that something great has happened to them, but when somebody pops into my mind, especially a client like that, something big's going on with them, and usually it's that they need help. So it's kind of like once somebody's my client, that ESP bond between us is there. And I've had clients reach out to me and go, I just keep thinking about you. Are you all right? And I'll be sick again, you know? So I think that definitely builds up between people, whether you work together, whether they're your client or they're your family. There's something about that connection that you get that ESP going between you.
Yeah, we've had that before. I remember shortly after Anthony had passed, I was going through a shift, and I woke up and I'm like, I've had a shift. And you texted me not long after that, and you're like, I heard you had a shift. So it's funny. It's like, you know, we are all connected. And one of his messages that he's really drove home with me and to get out there is that we are all connected. You know, there is an intricate line between all of us, and we are all energy. Energy is so expansive, and that's how you get to those sixth sense, if you will. Sixth.
And everybody has this. I mean, I really have paid attention to this. I'm just an observer. I feel like I'm sent from another planet almost here to observe the human race. I'm kidding, but I am like that. So I've observed this, like when people are not on a spiritual path, they have not opened up to the sixth senses or anything paranormal, that these things happen for them, and they'll either totally brush it off. They don't even want to think about it. Or they're like, what a weird, that's a coincidence. No, I want you to start thinking about that. Like when that comes to your head and you think, oh my gosh, that's a wild coincidence, I want you to look deeper and think about how that very likely is not. I just don't think there's a lot of coincidence happening in our world, that there's a lot of intentional things happening under the surface that bring us together, that open our eyes, that they're trying to get our attention. Oh boy, angels just came in with that. So apparently that's a biggie.
Mm-hmm.
So this is happening all around us to every single person. It's not just because we're psychics, but as psychics, you know, we have stronger natural abilities. And I know for myself, like I intentionally developed those natural abilities even higher. Anybody can do that no matter what level of psychic skill you're born with. That's absolutely something you can develop. It's a ability, just like if you were born where you can carry a tune, but you're not a great singer, you could take voice lessons and become a much better singer. If you want to be a writer, you can learn how. You can take classes and join writers group and become a better writer. It's no different. It's just a skill.
And we all work on our skills too, right? I mean, we have to do our work every day. We have to raise our frequency to be in that place to help serve others. So we're also, it's not just like, oh, hey, I'm psychic one day and everything's good.
Off we
still
go.
have to stay in that. We still have to stay in that frequency and that vibration as well.
And it is work. It is work. You know, one thing I was thinking about this yesterday, how I had no idea the commitment that it was going to require to do this work full time, and particularly to be a medium. You know, that I know that's a little off topic because being a medium is not ESP, but that's a good point that Terri-ann brings up. Like it takes not only daily attention, but constant attention to what you're doing, what you're thinking, what people around you are like, how their energy is affecting you, what you're watching, what you're reading, how you're eating, what you're drinking. You know, I mean, seriously, like, you know, you're constantly kind of checking your frequency. You know, am I picking up negative energy? Is that affecting me in a bad way? What am I doing? I need to not do that. I need to change this. It is very much a calling, and it requires attention on a regular basis. So I'm not saying you need to make that kind of dedication, but if you want your ESP ability to increase, you will need to pay close attention to your frequency. We have talked about that before. Should we delve into that a bit today?
Sure. I think it's really important right now. The world is very chaotic and tumultuous. So sometimes it's easy to get pulled into that. easy to get pulled into that energy. So it is important that we keep our frequency up, we stay in our lane. One thing Aunt has been telling me is stay in your lane, head down, full force ahead. Stay on the mission that I'm destined to do. So, bringing light to the world, however it is that you stay in your space. It's almost like, it's like when you would go to work and you're having a bad day and then everything bad starts happening around you, right? That is also related to your frequency, and people are starting to realize that. So you can easily shift that and change that once you're aware of what's actually going on. So I think there's a real importance right now, especially, is to raise our frequency as we go forward.
And for anybody who's watching this who didn't watch our show on frequency, let's just explain. Everything on the planet, including the planet itself, has a frequency or a vibration, a rate of vibration. And anything that is about anger, fear, distrust, envy, jealousy, any negative emotion, violence, those all are extremely low frequency emotions. And things like love, sharing, hope, trust, those are very high frequency emotions. So when you're around people or you're watching things or reading things that are about the low frequency types of emotions, then it's going to bring your personal frequency down. And ladies, let's talk about what that feels like, because I know I've certainly identified what it feels like to me.
How about this? When you're driving on the highway or driving in town and someone is either like that far away from your bumper or they go around, it feels inappropriate. It's hostile driving, perhaps, and I think that human beings do that to each other in a frequency energetic way. And like, for instance, actually this is pretty cool because Terri-ann texted me this morning because she knows I've been really tired. I've kind of overworked, and I'm just a little exhausted, and so that accidentally opens my own energy up to other stuff, like people reaching in, or it's always a sign when people try to tell you what to do. Like, I know you, like they're trying to define you, like you're going to have a bad day and you should do it this way and be what I say. I always know that that's like the program's kind of coming in at me, and I need to balance and have discernment through my ESP about the energies and frequencies around. But to me, it's like the easy way to say that is the discernment part is like, have you ever felt when those cars are trying to, like cut you off in traffic or be very hostile? It's like uncomfortable. We all, and it's a similar thing in energy and frequency when something's coming at you and it pulls you down into that lower frequency, or or if people are very negative or ugly or hating something loudly. It's hard because we need to shield up and kind of make sure we are safe and holding that light, whatever it is, like peace, comfort, safety. And then that in itself also just, it kind of goes out in waves as well to other people. I think it's like I wanted to say a gift, but I'm not sure what the right word is. What do you guys think? Well, when you're beaming and in balance and you're holding the light and it touches others and
I
lifts
hear
them up.
regenerating.
Regenerating. Yeah. That's a cool frequency. Commitment to how like Ivory said, like we're committed to checking ourselves every day, all the time, in our experiences and our relationships, and even in driving.
I think that's a really good analogy, Melissa, because I tense up when people do that, when they drive like that. For me, it's a very physical reaction. I'm thinking about that. It's like, first it'll hit me like people might start talking very angry, hostile, not at me necessarily. It's around me. And it comes over me like a wave of oppression. And I start feeling that like heaviness on me. And then it hurts in my solar plexus. And that's true for hearing people talking angrily, violently, you know, talking about things like that, or if I accidentally see something on TV that's gory or violent, that same thing happens. Literally, like this, it's an invisible wave that's just oppression on me and heavy. And then the pain in my solar plexus, which is the upper stomach, which is the major receiving chakra of the body for emotions outside of yourself. And I'm an empath, so that just hits me, and it'll be like somebody punched me hard in the upper stomach and it hurts so bad. And if it's really dark, if the energy is really dark, I'll feel like I'm going to throw up. And all of those things are like my quick early warning signals. I got to get out of there. I got to turn that off or get away. I've even driven over an hour home away from a gathering because it hit me so hard. I'm like, I can't tolerate this. I won't be able to work. And then afterwards, what happens is that I feel like somebody literally stuck a turkey baster into my body and sucked all my energy out. And that can go on for 10 days if I let it get too bad. This is why I think that the pandemic has actually been helpful for me, because I'm getting this time to isolate and I feel more balanced and clear than I have in a long time. I can completely control my environment. You know, I go to the grocery store, but I don't do a whole lot outside of my house other than that. And I think that my body, as the person that I am, the work I do, I think I needed that. I think I needed that at this time. You know, because when I go out, I really feel that there's a lot of low frequency energy going on out in the public.
I think that's important for people to know too. It is a lot with the people that you're around. You know, you may not even understand about energy or what it is, but you do know when you've been in some place, like you said, and you don't even have to be involved in it. But if somebody's arguing, you know, near you, and then all of a sudden your demeanor changes, and hey, I was in a good mood, now I'm like in a really shitty mood, and it's like, what's going on? And I think it's important for people to understand that is that energy, you know, getting into your energy field, and how to remove it then too.
Yeah, that energy tears a hole in your energetic field and injects negative energy into your energetic field. So, and it's not hard for that to happen. I mean, and I don't want people to think this is some political statement. This is not a political show. We're not making political statements. I don't care who it is out there or why they're talking angry or hostile or talking about violence. It doesn't matter who it is. The effect is the same. So just something to be aware of, you know, if you're feeling off balance yourself. I think that is one of the reasons I'm such a big proponent of keeping a spiritual journal, because other than the things you experience, like when you start hearing angels or seeing angels, or you're seeing the little sparks of light, she's got hers right there. You can be charting, you can be keeping track of the date, the time, and what you felt and what you were doing or experiencing just before you felt that way. So you can start tracking what is pulling your energy down, what is pulling your frequency down. And that's going to help you really start being more aware day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour of the state. You're just kind of scanning your energy and being very in tune with it. And that, the whole point of this, I'm not trying to take us off track into frequency, but it's such a big part of improving your ESP skills is to raise your frequency. You can't really do this without doing that. It's impossible.
You know, we haven't been taught to use that intuitive part of us. You know, we were taught as children, I know at least I was raised very strict Catholic, to be polite, to like, you know, they'd say something that he said, go hug your uncle. And I was always like, no, I don't like him, you know, and it's like, but I would be forced to do something like that sometimes. So that intuitive part of us knows, your soul knows. I can't stress enough, your soul knows. And when you begin to trust what you're feeling, even if you don't understand it, like, you know, there's a reason for it. So pay attention.
I agree. And we can look at it in the ways of possibly having ESP with our bodies when over the years of, like, I started out as a massage therapist and a Reiki master energy healer in my 30-year career, and have learned that way, frequency way. And I've seen the people say, well, you did that, you created your own illness. And I'm like, that's how that's not helpful. But we can look in at that way in our ESP and frequency awareness inside of ourselves when we have illness things, and certainly not to blame someone else, because we all have had headaches, we all had disease, we've all had illness, and to be aware in those different aspects, I think would be really cool to be able to, awesome, phone ringing, sorry guys.
Yours too.
But to be able to see that awareness. Sorry guys, I'm gonna go answer the phone. I will return.
Technology. That's funny. That's kind of funny. Lead into what I was going to say is, I'm going to date myself here, but I used to teach my students to start by practicing with your phone, and it was home phones. So when your phone would ring, before you answer it, try to guess who it is. Try to pick up who's on the other end. It's a little harder now because you look at your cell phone and it tells you who it is. So don't look at it. Turn it upside down and try to guess who it is on the phone. I think that's just a fun way to start exercising your ESP. Are there other ways that you ladies like to recommend?
Yeah, I would play a game with my children when they were young. If you ever played that game where you hold something in your hand and it's like, guess what I'm holding in my hand. And I would always be amazed that they could guess. Like, it took them a few times, but try to hone that skill in. So you can do it easily with your children or your grandchildren. Hold something in your hand and ask them to guess what it is.
That's a good one.
That's cool. Yeah. One of my favorites for myself personally is to do a little bit of automatic writing. So I just, again, carry the notebooks and the journals around with me for so many years. And someone in my family many years ago would say, how do you know that? And I said, I'm just reading the different layers of energy is all don't you know how to do that? And she would say, write it down. It's unbelievable what you know. And I said, it's all in the energy. You can see it. So I would write it down. And sometimes I would ask the archangels, like, can you help me? What can I know? What would it be helpful for me to know? And then it helped me get better and better at understanding quickly what was coming in the ESP and how to read the different patterns in the atmosphere. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I
It
think
was fun.
for me, I don't know why this just flashed into my head, but I'm kind of appalled sometimes when people come back. This will be friends. They'll say, oh my God, do you remember 3 years ago when we were at this event and you said this? No. I mean, I remember being at the event, but I didn't remember saying it. And I can't believe I said that. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking that. And they're like, well, you called it. That's exactly what happened. I never would have believed it, but that's exactly what happened. And I'm not going to say I know what the specific is recently, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to embarrass somebody. But I will get these things, and I'm sure you ladies can relate to this. I'll just get these flashes, and if I'm with people I'm comfortable with, I might say it. And I don't remember it because it's kind of like doing a reading. When we're doing psychic readings, we're not going to remember what we said to our clients, 10 minutes after the session. It's gone, with few exceptions, because it's not our thoughts. We didn't come up with that idea. That's a psychic insight. ESP is psychic insights. So when you get these things, you need to write these things down because you're not going to remember them. I mean, honestly, when clients or friends come back and tell me this, they'll be like, remember when I saw you 5 years ago and you predicted I wanted to talk about romance and you kept getting information about my work and I told you there's no way that's going to happen. It all happened. And I'm like, I'm sorry, are glad. I'm not sure, the circumstances go, but I don't remember that at all. I remember being in circumstances where I was embarrassed that they wanted information about something and I kept getting on another topic, but we get what we get, and we get it because a person needs to hear it.
I always laugh too when clients come back and they say that, don't you remember you said this, this, and this? And I'm like, nope. I'm sorry, I don't remember that.
That's why I take notes for my sessions. Like I try to at least write the highlights, because if sometimes people come back later and they're like, can you remember what the name was that you got? And I'm like, if I didn't have those notes, no way. Is that true for you too, Melissa? Or do you remember everything?
So many years of that. Like it's one of the hardest parts of my life that I think I had this last week. I had like 10 people text me, and some of them I don't remember who they are because it's not my right to know their life. I'm the messenger. I'm really good at reading the energy. So, but that happens all the time. And I'm like, yeah, no, I have no idea. Really? I said that? because it's not.
I said, that doesn't sound like me.
Yeah, like, wow,
Because it's
I'm
not.
awesome. I came up with that. What? And it's been interesting because for all these years it's been like that nonstop, and so I do not take notes. I try not to know anything about anyone, so that I can, kind of, perhaps so I can disconnect and go, okay, I hope hope you liked
I
your
don't
messages.
look at the notes before their next reading because it's irrelevant. You know how things change so quickly. It's irrelevant. But I wanted to say, like, kind of a segue here, why this is so important for you to write down what you get, and not to second guess. That's probably the worst thing we do to ourselves. We all go through it, especially early on. You get a very clear ESP about a piece of information, and you start to die. Oh, that can't be right. Oh, that sounds too wild. Oh gosh, that's probably just my imagination. You'll come up with all kinds of reasons to discard that piece of information that you got through ESP, when the truth is you need to write that down in your journal, the day, the time, exactly what you saw or heard or felt. I've been getting so many through the pandemic, and I don't know if it's because I spend most of my time alone, if it's helped me with that. But my predictions, I'm just getting prediction upon prediction upon prediction that's then in the news like 2-3 weeks later. So you all, a lot of you watching the show, you may be having similar things about yourself, your family, your world, the world, and just thinking you're having flights of fancy. Oh, I have the wildest imagination. How many times did I hear that as a child from my family? I would try to tell them things that I was getting or things I'd seen, and they're like, you have the wildest imagination. I do have a good imagination, but I was actually seeing spirits and angels and getting psychic information. So, just be kind to yourself. Don't think, I'm not a psychic. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You can do this. Don't sell yourself short.
I think when you start to see the world as just not so black and white, and there's things way beyond our physical that we can even comprehend, that sort of starts to shift in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even I think it was Einstein who was talking about so much of the world is unseen and unknown. And he wasn't talking, the way he worded it, he wasn't talking about the physical world. He was talking about paranormal type of things happening. So he must have experienced some things. I'll have to look into that. But I ran into that quote recently and I was like, wow, somebody so very numbers based, just a scientist kind of guy who could come up with something like that. I just think that people are they're using ESP and not even understanding that they are. Very much like empaths who have the ability to feel emotions of others, or right now the emotion of the planet, kind of a planetary emotion. And they have no idea they're doing that until they run into somebody who enlightens them.
I think in one of my psychology classes once, there was a study or something that had interviewed people women who had been attacked or raped. And I was amazed at how many times they said they had gotten a vibe or a sign or, something to not go like into an elevator or not go down a dark alley, whatever it was, but none of them listened to it. And I was like, wow, that really says a lot. That really started to shift my perspective about, we all have this, like, you know, this ability. And, in a extreme case like that, how many times they did not pay attention to that.
Yeah, there's books about that phenomenon, actually. One of probably the most powerful ways that people do experience ESP is when they're in danger. And they know it at a gut level, but they try to talk themselves out of it. Oh, there's no reason for me. Why am I thinking that? Don't worry about it. Go with it. If you're in danger, by the time you finish dissecting it, you could be dead or injured. So I certainly experienced that. And I think Melissa has too.
Yeah, I've relied on that, and I call it a team. It's like an emergency divine intervention team. And actually over the last years dealing with, as we're clearing out our DNA and our wounds and our clearing, we're all working on that. I've had a group that I've had for probably 30 years, and it'll come in. It scares me every time, but there are some people that are past and some angelic beings that come in, and the first thing that starts happening is other people start telling me, you have to be this. This is what's going to happen to you. This is who you are. This is what you're doing. And they're very it's rude, and they're always wrong. And then this team comes up, and I'm very visual. So we don't all have to perceive it this way. Sometimes we just know and have an inkling inside. I'm very visual, but I see them and it starts to scare me, and they'll go, stand up, walk out of here. This person wants to harm you, or and I'm like, what? Okay. And, or this is not where you need to be, and so that's the extreme as well. So it's not always that creepy, but that.
Yeah, out.
Yeah. But I've had in the last few years with some, where I come from, it was not an easy learning experience, and ever. And so that team will show up and say, this group of people have really bad intentions for you.
We're helping
and
extract you.
Yeah. And I know it way ahead of time, like days and weeks, and then I can kind of unwind it and go through. But that ESP part of myself has saved my life a few dozen times.
Something that happens to me, and it's happened very frequently, not very frequently, but most frequently in the last 5-6 years, is that I will hear out loud, that person does not have your best interest at heart. And sometimes it's shocking to me, the person, and it wakes me up. It wakes me up to seeing things that I didn't want to see. Things that they had changed, they'd become dark. They just weren't the person that they were when I met them. Or they'd done some things that I try to always think, what's the best possible reason a person would say that or do that or act that way, but I'd been giving them too much credit, and they were not in my best and highest good. They were definitely even doing things behind the scenes to hurt me and tear me down, and try to lower my frequency at the very least. And I've learned to pay attention to that right away, because every single time I've heard it, it is dead on right. And I don't like seeing that about people. I don't want to think that about people. That Pollyanna side of me gets me in trouble, but thank God I hear those messages, to wake me up sometimes, that I need to disengage from a person, make sure that they're not in my life anymore, whatever that takes.
And that's hard sometimes, right? I mean, it's not an easy thing to do.
No, what
but
if
it's
it's somebody in
necessary.
your family?
Painful.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't happened yet, but if it's somebody in your family, I've had plenty of clients, I'm sure you ladies have too, that they've got family members or their entire family is entirely just toxic people who do everything they can to tear that person down. And usually it's a light worker, a person who is just beaming light to the world, whose family is like that. And I don't know why that is, but there's an awful lot of it going around, and it's this huge challenge that people have to rise above, either limiting time around certain people or not being around certain people at all. But all that comes back to frequency too, because that'll drag down your frequency. So can you think of signs that somebody's ESP is starting to wake up? Not off
I
the
think,
top of your head.
for me, I've had a lot of clients and we've talked about this a lot, is almost everyone that is coming to me lately is saying, you're going to think I'm crazy. So, and like I had said to Roz, and Roz was like, no, I'm not going to think that. But they've been getting these messages either through dreams or visions. Dreams and visions seem very prevalent. Also, just like hearing things out of nowhere, like you said, whether it be that person doesn't have your best interest at heart, but they're like, why would I think that? Why would that be? And when we delve deeper, we look at it, and it's accurate. So they've all, I think right now we're in such a beautiful, beautiful time, with the veil being thin and the awakening happening, that so many people, I know for me, I've had the benefit of having to go through this over years, whereas now people are just like, all right, you're here, you're awake, and it's time to go. And they're like, oh my gosh. So I think, paying attention to those visions, those dreams, whatever it is, those thoughts that you're getting, like you said, writing them down, I think that's really good practice, so that you can go back and look at them and see if they do occur, and when they do occur, and how long in between, and stuff like that.
I think another thing too is when people come to me and they have just made a big change in their life, or they're on the verge of making multiple big changes, I know they're really tapping into their ESP, because I know for myself, I'm just going to speak for myself. I did not get here in a vacuum. It was not like I woke up one day and started doing my work full time. It was a process, and I was led on this process. And a lot of it was ESP, that I just knew I had to make a change in one way. That made it easier to make a change in another way, which allowed me to move to Sedona, to start doing this work full time, to open this business, to really put all my energy, as much energy as possible, and time and devotion to my mission. But it couldn't have happened if I'd stayed living where I was and I kept working in the mental health field, which I loved. And I was so happy where I lived. So it's not like I was miserable by any stretch of the imagination. And that may be true for some of you listening and watching right now, that you love your life the way it is. And so you're putting mule heels, and you don't, putting it on the stubborn, I don't want to make changes, but you're hearing you need to. And so that's not a bad thing. You have to trust that you're being led somewhere you're supposed to go, and that you're going to be happy, your needs are going to be met, and you're going to be fulfilled, or you wouldn't be led to do it.
And
Right.
thus the
What?
awakening of the sixth sense and the ESP, because it's sort of like, and you can see like the discernment part is a big part, and the listening, like Ivory was saying, like, I hadn't thought of that. And it's not always an easy path. And like Terri-ann said, many of the clients have said for a while now, you're gonna think I'm crazy. And I'm like, you mean me, who talks to star family, like galactic people? Come on, I don't think you're crazy. And they're also saying, I'm really empathic, and they're learning to um, move through the distortion around them, and balance out through that. I'm seeing that, and I just think that, like, really beautiful time as well. Terri-ann said that.
We should probably
Yeah,
talk
and it's
about.
not easy, right?
Oh
No.
God, no.
No, I mean, especially when you love what you're doing and you love where you are. I know for us going out on the road, it was like, but I love it here, so you just have to go with the flow sometimes, and trust that guidance you're getting is for your highest and best, like we always say.
Absolutely. There's a lot of peace in that, isn't there? to not
Yes.
argue with it, just go with where you're led. I wanted to say, I think it's important that our viewers know that the most frequent way people get ESP information is a sense of knowing. And I think that's the first thing you're going to recognize, is that you knew something ahead of time, or you knew something about a person or a situation, and later you're going to be thinking, how did I know that? Well, realize that it's your ESP senses working, waking up, strengthening. That is the number one way psychics get information, and psychics use ESP. That's the sense that they're using. So it's all the same. And I think knowing is sometimes you meet some person. Oh gosh, who can I talk about that would never come back to haunt me? Can't talk about something too close to you, right? So let's say you meet a person, let's just be generic. You meet a person, and at a gut level, you just don't like that person. They seem to be so nice. They're smiling, they're saying nice things, they're being friendly, but you just don't like them. Go back later and really think about it, because it can partly be psychological, because micro expressions, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but I'm really good at seeing micro expressions. I wish I wasn't. Like these very second long fleeting expressions that go across a person's face, in between them trying to control their expression to look a certain way. So it can be a micro, just a second or less of showing anger or disgust or frustration or dislike. And those, you see them too. Everybody sees them. Some people register them like I do, and some people it affects you and you pick it up, but you don't realize it. So it could be that, I have a logical mind. I'm going to go there, but it can also be you're getting psychic knowing about that person, and they're not good for you. So I think it's good to take some reflection time afterward to think about, why is this? And maybe consider listening to your own ESP ability. Or you can ignore it and pay the price later. I've certainly done that plenty of times. That's how I learned. We learn the hard ways sometimes with our gifts, don't we, ladies?
Yes, we
Oh,
do.
sure. Yeah.
Especially when we're young. Just like anything else, when you're young, you think you're invincible. Oh, I don't have that problem anymore. I was thinking today, does anybody have anything else they want to add about ESP? No?
Listen to
Terri-ann,
it.
would you feel like leading us in another guided meditation for peace in our country?
Sure, I could do that.
I think we need it.
Okay. So let's just take a deep breath in and close our eyes and begin to go to that place of serenity, that place within your body, mind, and soul, where you feel a sense of power, opening up and aligning with all of that divine, beautiful energy within you. It can be your heart space or your crown, wherever you feel a sense of peace. And as you drop into that space, begin to take a deep breath in and let it out. Breathing in that divine energy. As you begin to imagine a golden white light coming down from above, entering through the top of your head, flowing through every area in your body, lighting up all your cells and molecules, all of your chakras, your bones, and your blood. As that energy flows down through you and down and out your legs into Mother Earth, going down, down, down until you reach Mother Earth's heart chakra. And at that heart chakra, just anchor in your energy, calling back any parts of you that are far away, anchoring in your energy into Mother Earth's energy and combining that energy. And when you're anchored in, I want you to visualize that light going out spreading out from your body to your home, to your family members, to your community, to your state, to your country, and to your world. Setting this sacred container of light between you and all of humanity. Raising the frequency now as we travel up. Letting all of that energy expand and grow. Bringing in true peace within your heart. Setting the tone not only for today for miraculous changes to occur, but setting the tone going forward so that we may live in harmony and peace, not only with one another, but with Mother Earth, with the animals, with the oceans and the forests, creating a residence of true love, peace, and serenity, uplifting and bringing in new, expansive changes for our world. And begin to imagine that peace in your heart space spreading out from you to another, to your loved ones and your family, and having them also create that peace within their heart so they can spread that out to others. And everyone it touches, almost like a domino effect, creating this energy of peace within us, peace within each of us. And as we bring in the peace within each of us, we bring in the peace within each other, creating a constant connection of love and peace. So just begin to see all that happening now. And take a deep breath in and out. And just feeling that expansion within you now. And going on to create a beautiful day today and all of the days ahead.
I really felt a rush of energy coming in towards the end of that. When you're talking
That
about
felt really
sending
good.
it out to the world, sending it out around the planet, that was powerful. Thank you, Terri-ann.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching the Sedona Soul Sisters show. If you'd like more information about us and our services, we invite you to visit our website, sedonasoulsisters.com. We have offices in Sedona, Arizona, where we see clients from all over the world. And again, if you have questions about today's show and you're watching this later on YouTube, the email address to send your questions to is in the show description. We'll be glad to answer them at any time. Tune in next Friday when the topic is going to be Focus on Peace. See how that segued right in there? And subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can be aware of every single show. You don't miss a thing. In the meantime, we hope you have an enlightening week.
Bye, guys.